Listen to something fresh. Listen to Salam Media.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back to Salam Media. Welcome back to Tuesday Talk with your host, Luqman Skink. Tariq Hathaleen is a 27-year-old human rights activist and also an English teacher. He hails from al Khair village in Palestine. He has lived all his life under the occupation and suffers from the occupying Israeli military, aggression from the occupying Israeli military, settler violence or violence from settlers, Jewish settlers that come into his area, as well as home demolitions. Now, in his work, he highlights the attempts by the Israelis to evict residents of an area called Masafer Yatta to make way for a military training zone. Tariq joins me now. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Tariq.
Rahmatullahi.
Ahlan wa sahlan, mashallah. How are you, Tariq?
Good, alhamdulillah. We are alive in this, life.
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah.
Hayakallah, mashallah. Brother
Shukran.
Tariq,
Yeah.
we want to talk to you about your work mostly, but I think initially let's look at Masafer Yatta has been in the news recently in recent weeks, and the Israelis attempting to demolish homes, to evict 1,000 Palestinians, to make way for a military training base. But before we talk about the incidents and what happened and what has been happening, perhaps if you could give us an idea of, Masafer Yatta, like historically, what type of an area is it? Who lived there before? Give us a history or some historical background about Masafer Yatta. What can you tell us about Masafer Yatta?
Okay, so Masafer Yatta, it's an area that is located at the east side of Yatta city. Yatta city, it's one day back, that was a small village nearby the city of Hebron. And later on, nowadays, it's considered a city. All of the area located the east side of Yatta, it's between Yatta city and the Dead Sea, it's considered Masafer Yatta. And the people who live here, there's two types of people who live in this area. There is the original, citizens of land, people who historically have been there and have been living in this area. And there are the people who is like my family, who as a refugees came to this land. And to talk about a little bit to the about Nakba, the Israeli troops came eventually to the Naqab area, whereas mostly when people were living there, including my tribe, Jahalin, were actually transferred out of the land, of Arad, which is right next to Masafer Yatta, and we came to live in Masafer Yatta. So that has been, this is historically what is Masafer Yatta.
Tariq, from what I've seen, the pictures of Masafer Yatta, it does not seem like a very developed area. It's not. There are not many. It's not like a city. It seems like a rural, like an area where there's a lot of farming that takes place. What type of activities happen there in Masafer Yatta, and why is it that there are very few homes that are already there? That belong to the Muslims or belong to the Palestinians.
Yeah. So Masafer Yatta, it's actually, before, we come to this land, the people who own this land, who they are, most of them nowadays live in Yatta because of the hard conditions for life in Masafer Yatta. But they were coming in winter time and in springtime, there with their flocks, with sheep, with goats, live in caves. And when it's summertime, they go back to Yatta. If we look to Masafer Yatta, it's a land that's like a valley. It has altitude, and Yatta, the city that comes at the east, bottom, side of Masafer Yatta, it's a high mountains. Whereas the people in summertime and autumn time, they could go back to Yatta. So that has been why the Masafer Yatta is not so populated nowadays. But the people, when they felt that there is risk, surrounding their land, the actually the Israeli agreed to take and put a hand on this land. In recent years, the people start some of them, actually most of them, they were actually they maintained a life in Masafer Yatta. Later on, family, when they actually discovered the risk of the Israeli plans and the Israeli settlers plans to take over Masafer Yatta, they came to maintain a living in Masafer Yatta. And the people nowadays, they are fighting for their rights to have formal villages, villages with master plans, villages with all kind of services. And it came, unfortunately, it came a little bit late, and but the people, you are waking up to what is really going on.
Mm.
Masafer Yatta.
Now, in terms of what is really going on in Masafer Yatta, is the Israelis, they want to have some sort of a military training ground. You want to tell me about that? What is that about? What do you know about that military training ground that the IDF wants to establish on the homes of Palestinian people?
It actually all, started when in the year of 1967, when the Naksa, what we call the Naksa, happened, and the Israeli troops, the Israeli militias, the Israeli gangs actually came. They took over the West Bank, Gaza Strip, and the the Julan Heights. And then they actually moved, to put their hand in the lands of Masafer Yatta and the whole West Bank. Masafer Yatta, it's part of the West Bank. And if we look at the map of what nowadays considered Palestine, and not only for for us Palestinians, we would believe in all of these borders. The reality that it's Palestine from the dead, from the river to the sea. This is what we consider as Palestine. It's a land that has been taken away, from our hands.
Mhm.
So back to this, to this year, the Israeli military came, and they found there is big space of land between the villages and between what we call Kharb. And let's stop with the term Kharb here. Kharb stands for where people live in caves. People, when people live in houses and maintain a life of farming, that is considered a village or called village. A life of a harbe or a harbe, it's the people living caves, and they maintain actually shepherding and farming at the same time. And this is what is called Khir Masafer Yatta, whereas the really nowadays they are targeting, especially these, that came after the last decision was made by the Israeli and Supreme Court actually to evict eight khirab, actually, eight villages of Masafer Yatta. And with the
Mm.
military, going back to the topic, when the military found there is some spaces between the Khir of Masafer Yatta, villages of Masafer Yatta, they put their hand on that and they declared what is so-called nowadays 918 firing zone. And they start doing training from time to time, literally between the house of people. And now as I'm speaking to you, I hear the sound of live ammunition, and videos are actually coming, spreading on WhatsApp group that we nowadays use WhatsApp, to be in communication between each other as activists and as people in Masafer Yatta. I just saw a video before I go live with you here that literally were shooting live ammunition right in the village of Al Majaz, which is one of the eight Khirab Masafer Yatta that is located in the so-called actually 918 firing zone.
Mm. So the Palestinian villages in Masafer Yatta are currently under siege right now, and from what I've the research that I've made, the people there, the old people especially, are not are defiant. They're not going to move. They're not going to give an inch of the land to any of the Israeli defense forces. Tell me about the attitude of resistance amongst Palestinian villages whose homes could be demolished anytime, notwithstanding the Supreme Court ruling. What is the attitude of resistance that you find among the older residents of Masafer Yatta that are saying we are not going to move?
It's actually something that is in our blood, actually. We will not give back, we will not give away the land that we, have been living in it since we were born. The land that means for us everything. For me, where is in the spot where I'm sitting now in my house, the house that it's actually the demolition order, it means for me, it's worth for me more, more than a villa or a castle. For me, it's something that a land that is, in our blood, and it's something that we learned from the elders, the people who actually sacrificed, their lives actually to protect this land, and we will not actually give away this land. We will stay, we will live in this land. They do trainings right on the top of us while we are staying in caves, Masafer Yatta, but that will not scare us, that will not force us out of our land. If they take our cousins and confiscate them as they do nowadays, we will use donkeys. We will go back to our ancient life as Bedouins and as farmers. It used all methods and all ways of life to maintain a life in Masafer Yatta. Whatever they use from force, whatever they use from trying to scare us, we will not give away this land. And for me, it's something a little bit different. I told you there's two types of people who live in Masafer Yatta. People who actually were in Masafer Yatta historically, and the people like my family that who are refugees came in the 48 to this land. So for me, as I said, it's a little bit different because I was transferred, my family was transferred once, and we will not get another, but we will not transfer twice.
Yeah. Tariq, we are struggling to hear you a little bit in terms of the line, but I'm just going to ask you one last question. And this
Mhm.
is the work you do as an activist internationally and, raising awareness for the conditions that Palestinians live and the difficulties that Palestinians are undergoing. Tell me about some of the activism work you do, internationally to raise awareness about the true conditions on the ground.
Actually, let me go back a little bit, in history, and I want to say back in the year of 2000, there is a little bit attention where about the area of Masaf Yatta and where we live here. But with years, coming, and time passing, we actually now I consider myself as an activist, and there's actually a beauty of people nowadays who consider themselves activists, the people who actually stand for their people who activists that stand to protect their people actually, and to raise awareness about the tragedies actually that we are. It's a tragedy that we are living. Let me give me a little bit time here to explain you. For example, the life of a mother in Masafer Yatta. A life of a mother in Masafer Yatta. A lady that she wakes up early at dawn to pray Al Fajr, and she got to wake up her children, to do the prayer, and then he is worried about first child who will go with the sheep out in the mountains that might be attacked by Israeli extremists, by Israeli settlers, and she is worried on the second child that who will go in his school, that he will use public transportation, he will be stopped at checkpoints, and he might be killed, because there is a lot of stories of people were killed and the soldiers claimed that they were trying to stop them or do something like that. And she's worried on the third son that he lost his job because he's an activist and he can't get a permit and his freedom of movement is restricted. And she is worried on her house that has a demolition order that might be demolished, and she's worried on the how to maintain a living for her family, an income, and many things together comes to one person. And this is an example of what the people literally completely live. Myself, I worry about every single part of my life, how how to have a living, how to have a how to take care of my brothers, how to take care of my family, how to take care of my village, my community, and my area, my city, and the top of them, my cause, my country. And that's what we actually, as activists, actually doing, is raising awareness and spreading, awareness and spreading the word about the life here. And we want the people to have the attention, all the attention nowadays comes to Masafer Yatta, because if they evict the 8 villages, after that unjust decision that was made by the Supreme Court lately, it will be like a second Nakba for the people who live in Masafer.
Mm. Now, we had a British member of parliament that came and visited Masafer Yatta, the lady, the white lady, the lady from the British member of parliament. I don't know if you saw that. She, declared to the rest of the world that the actions of the Israeli government were illegal. Do you think such instances where the member of parliament from the British government coming to Masafer Yatta, you think those such incidents are important to increase awareness around the world, or to help your activism as well?
Yeah, of course. Even myself, speaking to you now is for me and for all of my friends and all of my fellows, the other activists, is important, in raising awareness about Masafer Yatta. And I am surprised because also there is 95 senators that already sent messages to the Israeli government to try to pressure them not to displace or evict Masafer Yatta.
Mm. Final question. Of course, we have seen the killing of Shireen Abu Akleh, Palestinian journalist that was killed, Al Jazeera Palestinian journalist. The United Nations, even the United States, asking for action. How are Palestinians feeling about this investigation at this moment in time? Are the Palestinians confident that a fair investigation would actually ensue and justice will be served for Shireen Abu Akleh and other Palestinian journalists that were killed in the line of fire?
I'm not really, optimistic this, in this, topic. There is like my uncle, for example, to speak about Shirin Abu Aqila, God have mercy on her, and my uncle himself, he was killed earlier this year and was run over by Israeli police truck that were confiscating Palestinian cars, and we didn't actually kept anything from doing that. We did it, we did everything. And what is the result? That the criminal, the driver of that truck who ran over my uncle, killed him with a cold blood. That just recently, as last week, he was in the area confiscating cars, and he left without any, actually, without being responsible for what he did. And with Shireen Abu Aqle, we hope at the end of this, that the story of Shireen Abu Aqle, that will wake up this world that is silent, and give a blind eyes to our cause and to the suffering and the life of tragedy that we are living. This is what we hope out of this. This is could be my opinion, and I think it's for all of the Palestinian people. At least the story of Shirin Abu Akleh should be the some the that thing that wake up the world to stand against unjust occupation that's killing people with cold blood. And for investigations, I'm not really optimistic that we'll get a result out of it.
Mhm. Brother Tariq, Jazakallah khair for your time. May Allah reward you for your time, for your activism,
Welcome.
for your dedication to your family, to your village, to your country. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help you in the work that you do to increase awareness of the true conditions of life on the ground in the Palestine occupied territories. Jazakallah khair for your time, brother.
Thank you very much, and thank you for hosting me. The voice that
Ameen.
you are spreading is important, and whenever we see actually people are listening to us, listening to our stories, listening to the situation, we feel that we are strong, and one day we will end the occupation and free Palestine.
Ameen, inshallah. Ameen, inshallah.
Inshallah. Thank you very much.
Assalamu Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam. Thank you very much, and good day.
Thank you. Good evening. Brother Tariq Hathaleen there talking to us there from the Palestine occupied territories, talking to us there about what's been going on with regards the village of Masafer Yatta. Talked about the fact that it's a historic town that's been in the hands of Palestinians for generations and hundreds of years, and the Israelis wanting to make that piece of land some sort of a military training ground, but saying the Palestinians, they are resisting. They have declared that none of them are going to move, and he says this is the spirit of the Palestinians, and he's also wanting the rest of the world to understand what's been going on the ground, and to stand in solidarity with Palestine. And inshallah, bringing our time to just a minute before 8 p.m. Well, in South Africa, it's going to be load shedding in our area, so we're going to take a short break and continue with the rest of the program. We continue with African politics, and we look at, of course, journey of a lifetime, how to save for your Hajj journey. How long is it going to take? And just what's the best way to do it? We'll be speaking to Brother Adib Abrahams from Al Baraka Bank in Cape Town. He's a regional manager there. Stay tuned.